Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice, at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
And by airs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at airs.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
Become a global player in your field.
Cross Culture to Go provides virtual support for your global business and career success.
We can help you thrive in 140 plus countries and markets.
On the web at crossculturetogo.com.
Running an effective and efficient global mobility program is complex. Managing the needs of the business and the assignee involves multiple vendors with numerous operational processes, complex and dispersed datasets, and urgent payment requirements. By simplifying and automating operational processes through robust technology-enabled data management, we remove manual data sharing, eliminate payment errors, lower vendor costs, and improve the experience for all. Our license-free software and managed service makes your operational processes more accurate and efficient. And more accurate payroll, finance, and tax compliance means happier assignees and less time spent resolving issues. In turn, reducing costs and freeing up time to implement actions that drive mobility function business impact. Our team of experts quickly diagnose your challenges, highlight how you can overcome them, and tailor our service to meet your business needs. We make managing global mobility programs more efficient, accurate, and secure through our easy-to-use platform, freeing global mobility teams to achieve more and unlock greater business insights with our unique solution. See the results and realize the benefits in under 8 weeks. Get in touch and find out how we could help you.
This is Ed Cohen in San Diego, California. It's a little after 8 a.m. here, and it's about 4 p.m. in London. Our special guest is Mike Hibberd. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Ed. How are you?
Good, thank you. So it's Global Expat Pay is the name of your group, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah,
right.
Very
good. That's nice and crisp. A nice site. And that video, 30-second video was a delight to watch and very informative. So Mike, briefly tell us exactly what you do. You're in accounting, but you're really not in accounting.
I consider myself an escaped accountant, or at least an escaped tax accountant. So a lot of Big Four background. I've worked in global mobility my whole career. I've been an assignee myself in the US and in Scandinavia, and I've kind of run programs inside of EY. So I've got quite a varied experience, I like to think.
So approximately in the last, just say since COVID, say last year and a half, have companies turned more? Have they accelerated their turn towards you for administrative help and trying to fix things?
Yeah, so we're helping to bring a digital lens to their global mobility operational model. There's lots of talk about talent mobility and all of the strategic stuff, but the thing that gets in the way of that is the time for the internal teams to actually focus on it. They know what they need to do, but they just don't have the time to do it with all the operational demands. So what we're doing as a managed service is really attacking that kind of operational inefficiency, use that term kind of broadly, and saving that time by making kind of data work for you rather than you work for the data. And so yeah, post-COVID, we've had lots of conversations. Obviously, we're a relatively new company, but we've got quite a lot of industry background and good contacts in the community. So a lot of interest in what we're doing. COVID's been a big distraction, as you can imagine, dealing with the kind of here and now. But there's definitely a brightening light that people are starting to look forward and think about how to make things better.
So the protocols, if you will, of managing global mobility haven't changed forever, although there's a lot of talk about it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that if you look at the way the global mobility kind of ecosystem has evolved, there's sticking plasters over sticking plasters, cost over cost, time over time. No one's really taken a step back and thought, actually, if we were starting this again, would we really do it the same way? And when we ask that question, the answer is a unanimous no, we definitely wouldn't do it that way. And so when you start to think about what's going on in the broader business, there's a lot of focus on digital, a lot of focus on automation, and really mobility's lagged a bit behind in its ability to really drive forward in that way.
Let me ask you, is the CEO the driver of having people go on assignments, or is it more the CHRO?
I think the business usually drives stuff. The demand is driven by the business. We need to expand on location X. We need these people to go and support that. We've got an issue in location Y. We need someone to do it. The CHRO is then, I suppose, the enabler, matching the talent with the opportunity. And then obviously the operational processes to make sure that that gets delivered.
Is there a list of what is expected upfront? Is there a list before the assignee accepts the position, or the line manager says, okay, let's go spend $1 million? And so what is expected? Is it talked about? Is it realistic to do that in advance?
Yeah, most companies have a pretty good handle on, once they've identified a candidate, the actual starting process is pretty good. So, whether you do an actual visit to the location to make sure you feel comfortable going there with your family, but most have a good handle on the terms and conditions. This is what you'll get. This is what it'll look like. This is the support we provide. And then essentially someone is committed to go, and that's where things start to tail off in terms of the experience. So yeah, you land and you have no money to spend. These are practical things like this.
So somebody who with experience with a couple of companies, I'm not going to name them, but in Japan, there are Japan-owned companies and techie, having to do with automotive, but that's as far as I'm going to go. They don't allow assignees to leave Japan until they are thoroughly vetted and trained, the family too, on language and culture, adaptation skills, and tested, because they don't want any embarrassment, number one. And number two, they certainly don't want to lose money. So, and they want to accomplish something. So it's the company culture, or the Japanese culture, to take a step back and say, wait a minute, what are we doing here? And and it costs a lot more money, but they get it right. Yeah.
I think obviously, without knowing who exactly you're talking to, but I do work with some Japanese companies, and the process is definitely robust, but it's not complete. And there's a very, an increasingly global workforce. Even the Japanese companies are looking to globalize their workforce, and obviously their mobility programs are in some ways a mirror of the kind of workforce globally. So trying to get different perspectives in, different cultures. And so the approaches that used to work for a Japanese company don't work when you have multiple home locations. It starts to get a bit more complex and a bit more messy.
So what about this situation? I'm here in San Diego, California, and you're in London, and I'm doing. Let's just say I'm working, and let's say we're in the same company, and yet I'm on assignment, a virtual assignment today, working in London with you, and let's say I'm trying to sell you something. I'm not, but just assume it. And so this is my job now. So why can't that happen forever? Yeah, let's make an appointment, say in March, next March, and I'll visit you and we'll go to a pub and have lunch and get to know each other better. But this is great. We have a nice rapport right away. Why do I have to spend all that time and money? Never mind causing pollution because of the airplane.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely a side to that where probably these days, and COVID's probably accelerated it, the discretionary assignments have probably been quite limited, and really looking at, what's the value to the company of actually having someone in a different culture. Some things you can do remotely. Obviously, there are some virtual assignments cropping up, but companies are trying to get their heads around, what does that really mean? Are they kind of partially in one place, partially in another place? But in reality, as you probably know, you can't drive change and lead teams going through that change remotely. It's quite hard. So where transformation's happening, you need to be able to look people in the eye, and that, Zoom will never really replace that. So I think, the balance between the development and the business requirements is very much more heavily weighted towards business right now, but I think that will get back in balance again.
So people are coming back to the office in London?
Yeah, so so very exciting actually. Whereas before you kind of go, oh, I've got to go to a meeting and be really depressed about the prospect of going somewhere and being somewhere. Now there's still that novelty value of having been suppressed from actually doing it forever, to now going, I'm going to a meeting and it's in person. Isn't it exciting? So I'm sure that will wane a little bit when the volume kicks up. But in terms of getting back to the office, depending on which sector you're in and which city you're in, that's already starting to happen. And I think September is when things will probably start to become a bit more normal. Whether normal's 3 days a week or 5 days a week remains to be seen.
And are you finding in some offices that you're familiar with, have they changed the structure of the internal layout of the office, taking out cubicles and desks and just making more meeting rooms and where people will work remotely and then come in for meetings and then depart?
Yeah, and again, it's a bit mixed. It depends on the sector. Some of the kind of financial services companies, it's quite funny at Canary Wharf at the moment, because the limitation is physically you have to be quite fit to go up the stairs, and the lifts have very severe restrictions. So they're limiting the number of people that can come in at a practical level. We can't get you to the floor in under an hour. So let's stage how many people to come in. But you're right, the configuration of the office and the office of the future, I think that playbook's being torn up and is being rewritten as we speak. And it'll be more dynamic workspaces, I suspect.
So regarding the lifts, so there's restrictions on how many people, and they have to wear a face mask, and they have to show they've been vaccinated?
Well, I'm not sure if they're going quite that far in terms of the vaccine passport, although it's been quite widely used here for sports events. But the whole prospect of having 40 people in a lift is a thing of the past. It's now
daunting to think about.
5 or 6, at max.
Breathing the same air, my God.
Absolutely.
And we used to do it all the time without thinking about it.
I know.
Especially sneezing and coughing and whatever. God. Oh, so meanwhile, have they fixed the stairwells? Have they put sexy art in the hallways going up the stairs to draw people in, or what?
I doubt it. I doubt it. Some of those buildings are pretty tall. I think you'd need to spend a lot of time on a stairmaster to be ready to use those. Maybe coming down.
Or suddenly you'll have a physically fit staff.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about pay issues. How are companies paying people who work remotely? The same way?
Well, so yeah, remotely, yes, in general. It depends. I mean, you probably have more of these kind of issues in the US where people are kind of going between states and they're not leaving the US, but they are working remotely from a state perspective. So the tracking and how you manage that is obviously a major compliance pain. And it's been quite interesting. If you think about what's happened, there was the big announcements at the start saying work from anywhere for as long as you like. And now it's, well, except when you cause a compliance issue for us and we have to track what you've been doing and deal with all the issues. Now it's getting towards being, you know, sort of 30 days is seems to be where people are settling, and some of that can be from another location. So yeah, it's a messy thing, but interestingly, that whole problem has been thrown to global mobility. In addition to everything else, it's like, come up with our policy on remote working. You're going, okay, that's fine. Yeah, because obviously the light that's been shone on them through COVID. I think the business had this kind of perspective of their mobility teams as being administrators. And if you think about mobility as an iceberg, the bit they saw was above the water, but actually all the pain was below the water that they were dealing with. And remote working, COVID has actually pushed more of that ice out of the water. So the business is more aware of the role that mobility plays day to day and how much skill they need to have to solve the problems.
Now, let's talk about the definitions of talent mobility. So, you know, the obvious is that I'm in San Diego and I'm going to be relocated to a town next to Heathrow. And so sounds cool, but might be noisy, but I know it'll be green. And so, but first, on a virtual assignment, meaning I'm going to sit here and look at the screen for 6 months and get to know people, and people are going to get to know me. And then if things work out, you'll buy me a ticket to come to London, right? In coach, I'm sure. So, but what about this idea of developing far-flung talent, global talent, before relocating people? Is virtual working out in an unexpected way in that regard to find talent, get people to know each other, and so when we finally do meet in person, hey, we're going to have a good friendship.
Yeah, I think it's definitely got a role to play, and obviously people have got much more used to using Zoom and Teams and other kind of media. I think everything seems to go in circles. I don't know if you notice, you feel that too, that there was this whole thing where video conferencing was going to replace business travel. And guess what? It didn't really replace business travel. It needed something to intervene to stop that from happening. And the same is probably true with virtual assignments. I think, first of all, everyone has kind of virtual meeting fatigue. I think seeing yourself, seeing other people on a screen for kind of 8-10 hours a day is really not going to improve business performance or individual contribution. I don't think, and therefore it's almost, you can see a situation where people might not move their families. They might be in a location for a few weeks, then they might do something remotely, which is kind of a hybrid type of assignment. I can't think of anything worse than supporting another time zone by Zoom 100% of your time. I think it would drive me absolutely nuts.
So talk to me about what you see, the tax situation, and all these different layers, whether it's Brexit caused or a compliance. Countries, states are looking for money, and so it's been years in the making, but now it's here. Where they're watching what you're doing all the time.
Yeah, definitely. And I think without being cynical about it, you've got the opportunity for fiscal authorities to get money from non-voters. So that's always a popular domestic environment. Take it from the non-voters and the corporations that send them around. So I think the whole revenue capture, being compliant is going to become more important. I think obviously during COVID, there's been quite a lot of flexibility from the fiscal authorities to say, okay, well, if you're stranded in a location, we'll take a pragmatic view of that, and the 180 days or whatever the triggers are for tax or social security are being applied less rigorously. But as they come out of the crisis and they start looking for money again to cover the black holes they've created, then it's inevitable that they're going to be more rigorous about collecting tax and social security. And they're complex. They're both complex. Sorry, questions? I didn't mean to distress you.
No. It's really important. The cost tracking, people tracking, performance tracking.
Yeah.
It's a good idea, and it comes back to one of in your lists that you sent me. Everything is leading up to the assignment, and then people land in the new place, and it's like, the breaking news replaces what was breaking news yesterday. Now, okay, let's go to the next thing. And, oh yeah, there's Ed over there. What's his problem? Why can't he deal with things?
Yeah. Well, I think I've been an assignee a couple of times myself, so I've experienced this firsthand, and that's partly behind my passion to solve this problem, is that I want it to be better for other people. So, I mentioned the fact that the companies do a good job of, here are the terms and conditions for your assignment, here's your plane ticket, here's temporary accommodation. But when you land, you might not have a bank account because you have to go through the whole process of setting up a bank account, which depending on the country can take a couple of weeks to do. Guess when most of your expenditure is to get the family settled? It's right at the start. You want to get a TV tomorrow, you don't want to get one in 2 weeks. And so all of those things add up to a lot of administration and a lot of complexity and a poor experience. And what you really want to do, back to the reason you send people, they're going to solve a problem or to drive your business forward. You don't want them to be focusing on domestic escalations because the internet doesn't work or you don't have money to spend in the local currency. Your credit card's maxed out because you've had to buy loads of stuff that are covered by reload allowances. Those practical challenges really give a bad experience, and some assignments never really recover from that.
Well, and people say, I'm going to quit, but don't tell anybody yet.
Yeah.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a timely announcement.
Hi, I'm Sergei Gorbatov.
I'm Angela Lane.
Together we're researchers, writers and practitioners in the field of human resources.
And we've also been multi-country, multi-assignment career expats.
We owe our professional development and growth to a very large extent to the international assignment opportunities that we have had.
But in a world where distributed work may become the norm, we also want to understand what will happen to the nature, duration, and purpose of international assignments.
Together with our colleague, Julian Dalzell from the University of South Carolina, we're undertaking a study on the future of expatriation.
And we'd value your contribution. You can participate in this important study by completing a simple 10-minute questionnaire.
Access the questionnaire by typing in your browser tinyurl.com/expert study. That's tinyurl.com/expert study. You can also find the link here on Ed's website next to this video.
Thank you for joining us in this study. In return for your contribution, we'll provide you with a copy of our research.
And of course, you'll be invited to an exclusive webinar hosted by Ed, where we will share our findings right here on Global Business News.
And so please go to tinyurl.com/expat study. Take the survey so that we can better understand the future of expatriation.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
Yeah. So what about lump sums? Just yesterday, I had a conversation with a New York person, go nameless, dealing with some very large companies, and they've stopped their policies and just say, nope, lump sum. How much do you need? And don't bother us with any exceptions.
Yeah.
All right. And don't move your stuff. So I have to tell you that my son-in-law and his family relocated from San Diego to Pittsburgh in late May. All right, and it's now the end of July. The moving truck has not arrived yet.
Yeah, I can.
Can you imagine that? Why move the stuff? You know, they're paying all this money for rental furniture, right? And then they got to get rid of the damn things.
Yeah.
And then, what a mess.
Yeah. Yeah. So lump sums, it's a bit of a minefield really, because again, that's another cycle that is, it used to be called FlexPat. It's been called a load of different things. Now it's called lump sum. I think that's a practical way of companies getting away from the complexity that is generated by the way their operational data needs to move around. So in a funny way, that's part of the reason that Global Expat Pay exists, is that we want to make it easier for you to provide flexibility without having to go down a host pay approach, you know, dealing with all the benefits that get left behind and lost, or that lump sum approach. I've heard it described in different ways. It's very transparent. Obviously, you say, here's X $1,000 or $100,000, whatever it is. Go figure out what you pay your rental, you pay your school fees, you pay everything. And then the business looks at it and thinks, wow, that's a massive amount of money. And so that gives a bit of indigestion. And then later down the line, say you want to move that same person to a different place, what you're doing is you're dragging along quite a lot of costs because it's not specific to, okay, housing's now cheaper in location A, so I'm going to pay you less. Okay, well, I want to ratchet up that lump sum because now you're moving me again. That's my starting point. What are you going to give me in addition to that? And it gets very messy, and actually, you know, you see that cycle where people unwind those lump sum things because some senior people just don't want to give stuff up.
So who is the transferee having that kind of ugly conversation with? Is it their direct manager for work, or is it somebody on another wing somewhere?
I think it depends on the culture of the company, I think, and the strength of the internal program. So it'll be kind of, yeah, a combination of both. I think it'll be a word in the ear of the direct reports, whoever they report into, saying, this is what you're about to do to me. I'm not really happy and I'm looking elsewhere, if that's going to be the case, you know, that kind of thing. I'm boiling it down into various, and then obviously the internal, you know, violent reaction to being told by the mobility team that, great news, you're moving to a new location, but your lump sum's going down by 20%. And then having to, you know, deal with the aftermath of that good news.
So I've spent years in the company and recently bought a house a couple of years ago. The family is settled. Everything's okay emotionally. Love the job, love the company, attitudes. And now you're asking me to disrupt everything and screw up my life. And you know, I love the company. I want to grow. I want to be trusted. But you're causing me all these problems here. And now if I land in this new location and things aren't set up right, and I mean, you're going to cause all kinds of problems for me. And I don't want to have this kind of a conversation with you. I want you to love me. I want you to think I'm cool and good for the culture here.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a major problem that COVID has interrupted. But now everybody's striving to accelerate themselves and do things. And legal is telling the boss, don't require vaccination. Oh, and there's another lawyer that says you better do it. What a mess! What a mess!
It is a bit of a minefield. The rules keep changing the whole time. I'm an optimist, so I almost turn that around and say, actually, if you support the opportunity properly and you sell it in the right way, so that talent mobility question you asked earlier, there's two ways of doing it. So we want you to solve a problem in country A, and here's the package you can go on. Great, thank you. And then then the whole, you know, risk part is kind of, you know, oh, well, what if I do that? I've left a pretty good deal here. I'm on a promotion path and so on. Now you're asking to go and do something really difficult. What's my career path after that? So the positive spin on that is saying, okay, here's your next challenge. And by the way, once you've done that, there are a couple of things like X or Y that will be the challenge after that. So you turn something from being potentially, you know, negative, key talent, lot of investment. You don't want them going to your competitor. You've invested in developing your competitor's talent. You want them to be engaged about dealing with the problem ahead of them more quickly. So imagine if someone did a 3-year assignment, but they got the objective done in 2 years because you've been clear on what comes next after it's done. You've saved yourself, you know, $500,000, and you've got a better outcome, and you've got the next challenge underway, and you retain that talent. That's the way I kind of. That's a win.
That's a good. That's a great ROI.
But the experience has to be good. Yeah, if you don't deliver a good experience, the trust in the process, including that, you know, career progression, what comes next, and the actual experience of moving, has to be in line with that, you know, future promise.
So you're in the software business, right?
We use software. We're offering a managed service because I think a lot of people think that buying a software solution is the panacea, and actually it's only, if you buy a license, it's only as good as the way you use it. It doesn't guarantee the outcomes, doesn't maintain the outcomes. You're still on the hook to do that. What we believe is that if you use software and technology in a way that is solving a problem, and you manage that problem on behalf of the customer, it's a better outcome. That's our philosophy.
So it is part of the software, the program, the digitalization of mobility management there.
Yeah.
Talent management. It's just mobility is just a piece of it. So, and let's just understand that mobility is part of the continuum of growing people. Okay. So, with that in mind, would your if it doesn't already, would it be better to have built into your program your digital solutions, like a chat box or something that is a reminder, like little person up here talking, have you contacted people about your next position? How can you apply this new skill set that you have towards getting more money or a different position? And by the way, can I be of service to the company by helping mentor a person who will replace me in this position because I'm going to move to another position?
Yeah.
That's like a continuum also. And it sounds like it's full of ROI.
Yeah, for sure. So the way we're attacking the problem is a bit like when you sit in the car and everything's nice and comfortable, but the car doesn't work. We're making sure that when you open the hood, all the wiring makes sense. In our world, mobility world, people are getting paid the right amount. What you said you were going to pay them at the start is actually delivered. Payroll's working properly. Year-end processes working properly. Finance is working properly. And then once you have that operational data in one place, and you can rely on it, it does open up a whole world of future uses for that data. And so, one of them is, managing your bench strength. So how do you then see what your program is developing for you, and you link that with your talent stuff. We tend to focus on the company side of things. Obviously, we deliver an outcome to the assignees, but we generally don't work with the assignees themselves yet. And I think by fixing that problem, it's amazing how much value you can drive quite quickly through the organization, whether it's time saving, better insight, or lower cost.
So the advantage of using Global Expat Pay over not using it, and who knows what else is out there, but what your product is a digital management system. And so have you been able to document savings, realize?
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be amazing, because you're dealing almost with what sounds like it's tangible, but it's not, it's intangible. And then so that would be really amazing. Would you like to use this platform for the next 2 or 3 minutes and give a quick pitch? How do you measure results on something that's difficult?
Yeah, I'd love to. So thank you for the opportunity to do that. So we're very focused because we're a disruptor. So and you kind of go, oh, that's great. In general, it's great, but no one can put you in a box, because you're not replacing someone. What you're doing is disrupting bits of lots of things, whether it's your tax provider, dealing with errors in payroll and correcting them for you, charging you for that, whether your relocation company is charging you to make payments that the company can't make. What we're doing is kind of solving that operational problem. And back to what I was saying about the sticking plasters over the operating model, what we're doing is almost rebooting global mobility operations through better use of data, validate it, distribute it, automate it. And by doing that, you immediately make savings. So the cheapest way to do something is not to have to do it at all, both from a time perspective and from a cost perspective. So by redefining what needs to be done, you immediately make savings. And we are very focused on creating a business case. And one of my proudest moments, because finance directors, generally speaking, are quite skeptical when people come to them with business cases, is to have a European finance director of a seriously big company, 4,000 assignees, turn around to me and say, this is the first time anyone's ever delivered a business case saving in the first year. So it's the first time.
Way to go. How can people reach you? What's your website?
Yeah, so we're globalexpatpay.com, and we try to make the website as informative as possible. We've got some case studies there, our videos there. We've got a self-diagnostic tool, which gives you a really quick, takes 5 minutes, and it tells you how much time we think you can save and how much money. And we've gone on the conservative side there because people hate to be disappointed, even if the saving's good.
Mike Hibberd, thanks for being my special guest today on Global TV Talk Show on our network, globalbusinessnews.net. And I welcome you to come back, maybe join a discussion with some other people in our what we call the global meeting room. And we try to make the TV, this is TV, the TV experience, well, if not fun, at least entertaining and engaging. So would you please consider that? And I've personally been in the public relations and advertising business since I was 15. And so it's a long time. And so what we're trying to do with this product, Global TV Talk Show, is to provide a pathway, a launch pad for better relations. And yeah, you were just invited and allowed to give a pitch. Yeah, that's okay. This is a business. It's not personal, as Don Corleone said or something. But I thank you for being on Global TV Talk Show, and please come back.
Yeah, thank you. It's been my absolute pleasure. I'll be delighted to come back, and thanks for all you're doing to broadcast these issues. It's a really kind of innovative way of actually, helping people to figure out how to solve their problems. So thank you for that. Yeah,
sure. And so if you know of anybody similar to you or would like a platform for a few minutes, please put me in touch.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. This is Ed in San Diego. It's Mike Hibberd in London. Wow. Cheers.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Signing off.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.